My friend stabbed me in the back and smiled like nothing happened. But stolen glory doesn't last. I waited, prepared, and when it all collapsed, I was the one they listened to. We were not just coworkers, we were partners. Late nights over stale pizza and whiteboards. Brainstorms that turned into vent sessions. I once lied to HR to cover for him when he forgot a client call. Said his kid was sick. Shane does not even have a kid. It felt like a brotherhood. Like if one of us made it, we both did. That is why it hurt so bad. It started with a pitch. A concept I had been shaping in secret for months. An AI-driven logistics tool that could cut shipping costs by a third. Not just a good idea. A game changer. I shared it with Shane one night when we were the last two in the office. Just talking. Just friends. He listened like he always did, nodding, throwing in a joke or two. Said it was brilliant. I believed him. The next week, he presented it to the board. His slides. His voice. My work. He changed just enough to blur the fingerprints. I remember sitting there at the back of the conference room, watching the whole thing play out like a bad dream. My jaw clenched so tight I thought I might crack a molar. Shane acted like he just had a eureka moment over the weekend. Said he had been noodling with the concept for a while. The boss, Mr. Landon, practically gave him a standing ovation. And me? I just sat there, eyes burning, hands locked in fists under the table. They gave him a promotion the next quarter. That should have been me. I thought about calling him out right then and there. Standing up and ripping his damn laptop off the table. I could see it in my head. Landon turning to me, stunned, as I laid out every file, every timestamp, every piece of evidence. I would have had them all, but I did not. I stayed quiet. I do not know why. Maybe because I wanted to believe he would come clean. Maybe I thought it would all fall apart on its own. Or maybe I wanted to watch him crumble. And he would, sooner or later. Because that idea was not finished. Not really. I never gave him the second half. And without it, the whole thing was going to collapse. You ever watch a man build his throne on wet cement? Just wait. The first crack showed up sooner than I expected. 2 weeks after the pitch, Shane was already in over his head. I could see it happening in real time. He kept acting like everything was under control, strutting through the office like he owned the place. But I noticed the signs. Slack messages piling up unanswered. That nervous tap-tap-tap of his pen against the desk. The way he hovered outside Landon's door like a kid about to confess to breaking a window. He looked the part of success, sure. Fresh haircut, new blazer, and that smug half-smile he had been wearing like a mask ever since the promotion. But under that, he was unraveling. He had no idea what he was doing. Because what I gave him, what he stole, was half a map. A sketch of a solution, not the real thing. The numbers he showed the board? Projections based on assumptions I never finalized. They were just placeholders, ideas I was still testing. But he did not know that. And now, the whole company was expecting results. Actual numbers. A working model. Clients were asking questions, and Shane? Shane was making excuses. Long meetings where he tossed around buzzwords to hide the fact that nothing was ready. Meanwhile, I kept my head down. Answered emails. Helped with side projects. Smiled at the water cooler. But I was watching. Every missed deadline. I logged it. Every vague answer he gave in meetings. I made a note. When he blamed the dev team for delays, I was the one who sat with them afterward, piecing together what went wrong. It was strange, being the ghost in my own story. Knowing I was the one who had built the idea that Shane was now driving straight into a wall. And yet, I said nothing. I could feel it building inside me, like pressure in a pipe. The anger, the betrayal, but also something else. Patience. I was not going to explode. Not this time. No shouting matches. No dramatic emails. No scenes. Just one shot. One perfect moment. And I would make sure it landed. But first, I needed something better. Something stronger. Not just to prove him wrong, but to prove to myself that I still had it. So I started building again. Late at night. In the quiet. In secret. A new idea. One I would never share. Not until it was ready. Not until I was. And all the while, Shane kept smiling, not realizing the ground under his feet was already starting to crack. Because paper kings? They burn easy. It happened during the monthly review meeting. A small thing. Barely a tremor. Landon asked a question. Simple, direct. Something about the timeline for phase 2 of the rollout. Shane froze. For just a second, but I caught it. Everyone else probably thought he was just choosing his words. But I knew that look. That flicker in his eyes. That was panic. He tried to play it cool. Said the developers were refining the architecture, that things were moving steadily. Fancy way of saying he had no idea what was happening. The thing was, I did know. I had stayed close with the dev team, helped them on other projects, earned their trust. So when they started venting about someone making last-minute demands and breaking things they had already fixed, I knew exactly who they meant. Shane was improvising, grabbing at ideas he barely understood, trying to force pieces together that were never meant to fit. He was copying from a blueprint he had never read in full. Every change he made pushed the project further off course. And I said nothing. Not yet. I would stay late after everyone left. Sit at my desk, headphones in, but no music playing. Just thinking. Planning. I kept a separate folder on my personal drive, sketch diagrams, refined models, mock dashboards. The real version. The one that worked. That was my new obsession. I poured everything into it. Weeks of quiet, obsessive work. No leaks. No hints. Just patience. Then one night, Shane caught me leaving. He gave me this look, half suspicious, half guilty. Asked if I was working on something big. I just smiled and told him I was helping the junior devs debug an issue. He nodded slowly. Too slowly. I could see the wheels turning. He knew something was up. Not the full picture, but enough to make him nervous. And nervous people? They start making mistakes. A week later, a bug hit production. Something in the core logic. Landon was livid. Shane tried to pass the blame, but this time the devs pushed back. For the first time since the pitch, Shane did not have an answer. Just a lot of stammering and jargon that sounded smart to anyone who had never written a single line of code. And Landon? He started looking at me again. I could feel it. That quiet shift in the room, where eyes slowly move away from the golden boy and start drifting toward the guy in the corner. Me. The tides were turning. But I still was not ready. Not yet. I needed one more piece. One final push to make it undeniable. And when that came, I would not raise my voice. I would raise the bar. Shane was not just some office buddy I met over donuts and deadlines. We grew up together. Same high school. Same summer jobs. Hell, he even crashed on my couch during his first month in the city. Said I was the only one who ever had his back. Said we were brothers. I believed him. That is what made the betrayal worse. He did not just steal an idea. He stole it from someone who would have given it to him if he had just asked. But that is the thing with Shane. He never asked. He just took. In high school, he copied my science project and got a higher grade because his handwriting was neater. In college, he borrowed my essay outline and ended up winning a departmental award. Every time, he made it look like he just got lucky. Like it just came to him. And every time, I let it slide. Because I thought we were friends. Because I thought maybe that is what loyalty looked like, letting the little stuff go. But this time, this was not little. This was my career. My shot. So no, I was not going to let it slide again. At work, things were shifting fast. Landon started CC&G me more on internal updates. Asked for my opinion in meetings. Small things, but noticeable. Shane noticed. I could see it eating at him. The swagger was fading. That easy laugh. Now it came out tight, forced. His jokes stopped landing. People stopped replying to his messages with exclamation points. He started pulling people aside for one-on-ones. Trying to smooth things over. Trying to get ahead of something he could not name, but felt coming. Meanwhile, I kept building. My project, my real project, was finally clicking into place. Every test passed. Every number lined up. I had even looped in one of our UX leads off the record to polish the interface. Told him it was just a side concept for fun. He called it brilliant. I told him to keep it between us. And all the while, Shane kept digging his own grave. He made one final mistake. One that sealed everything. He promised the board a beta launch by the end of the quarter. Publicly, he stood in that glass conference room with his sleeves rolled up and said, "We are confident. Expect a demo by the 28th. I almost laughed, because I knew what he did not, that there was no demo. There never was. And the calendar? It was already creeping toward the deadline. 23 days and counting. Tick, tick, tick. I still remember the way Shane looked that morning. Bags under his eyes, tie crooked, hair still wet like he had sprinted out of the shower and straight into panic. He stood outside the conference room, holding his laptop like a shield, pacing back and forth like a guy about to walk into court. That was the day of the beta demo. Or, as I like to think of it now, the beginning of the end. The board was already gathered. Landon had flown in the regional director. Everyone expected fireworks. Shane had promised it would change the way we handled fulfillment across all departments. He had built this thing up so big, I half expected a parade. Except there was nothing. Not a working version. Not even a stable prototype. I knew because I had seen the internal repo. The thing was barely standing. The backend was broken, the API calls failed at random, and the metrics dashboard, his big cell, still showed sample data from 2 months ago. Shane was stalling. He played a video instead of a live demo. Claimed it was just easier for now. Narrated over it with buzzwords and filler talk. But something was off, even to the untrained eye. The transitions were too smooth. The loading times were suspiciously perfect. Landon narrowed his eyes. He asked for a live walkthrough. And Shane? He started sweating. Made up some excuse about a recent system patch. Said it would be too risky to run it live without QA sign-off. Promised the full demo was coming by Friday. It was Tuesday. Everyone nodded politely. But you could feel the shift. The room got cold. Shorter questions. Fewer smiles. After the meeting, Landon asked me to stay back. Said he wanted a second opinion. I told him I was working on something I thought might help. That was all. I did not say Shane had lied. I did not say he stole anything. I just planted the seed. Landon's expression did not change. He just nodded once and said, "Let me know when you are ready." That was it. No drama. No fireworks. Just a door opening. And Shane? He was waiting by the elevators. Asked me how it went. Voice tight. Eyes twitching. I shrugged. Said, "You tell me, man." He did not answer. Just watched me walk away. And in that moment, I could feel it. He knew. He did not have time. But I did. By Thursday morning, Shane was a different man. Gone was the confident smirk, the casual charm, the too loud laugh that used to bounce off the office walls. Now, he barely looked people in the eye. Wore the same shirt twice in a row. Showed up late to stand-ups. Said he had been working all night. The funny part? No one believed him. The dev team had started whispering behind his back. Words like disorganized, inconsistent, confused. One of them told me he changed the same file 4 times in a single hour, broke the build twice. Another caught him Googling a basic function like he had never written code in his life. I watched it all from a distance. Never said a word. It felt surreal, honestly. After everything he had done, every shortcut, every lie, he was now stuck in a loop he could not escape. Trying to deliver a product he never understood, scrambling to fix problems he did not cause, chasing an idea that was never his. That beta demo he promised? Never showed. Friday came and went. No product. No explanation. Just silence. Landon did not blow up. That is not his style. But I saw him take Shane off the Monday calendar invite for the strategy meeting. Replaced him with TBD. That was my cue. I stayed late that night. Waited until the office emptied out. Then I opened the file. My file. My version of the tool, the complete one. Every line tested, every chart real, every metric connected to live data. No smoke, no mirrors. Just results. It was ready. I put it on a drive. Not the company's server. Just a clean copy. No logo. No tags. And I slept better that night than I had in weeks. Monday morning, I walked into that strategy meeting calm. Quiet. Just another name on the list. But Landon saw me. Nodded. Motioned toward the front of the room. "Show us," he said. No build-up. No warning. Just those 2 words. And I did. I plugged in the drive. Took a deep breath. Clicked. The dashboard came alive. Live metrics, real-time updates, everything the old pitch had promised, but actually working. You could hear the room shift. Keyboards stopped clacking. Coffee cups frozen halfway to lips. I explained how it worked. Showed the logic. Walked them through it step by step. Clean. Confident. Simple. No overselling. No buzzwords. Just proof. When I finished, Landon leaned back in his chair and said, "That is what I expected the first time." Shane was not there to hear it, but I knew he would find out. I did not smile. I did not gloat. I just nodded and returned to my seat. The room was quiet, but in my chest, I could feel the drum starting. He showed up late to the office that day. I was at my desk, answering emails, when Shane walked in. His eyes darted around the floor like he could feel something was off, but did not know what. His shirt was wrinkled. Tie half done. Jacket over one arm like he had debated even coming in. I kept typing. He saw me. Paused. His mouth opened like he wanted to ask something, but then he saw the looks. The way people glanced at him, then away. The silence that followed him through the room. a kind of tension that buzzed just below the surface. Even the dev team, the ones who used to joke with him by the coffee machine, barely gave him a nod. That is when it hit him. He knew. He tried to play it cool. Walked straight to Landon's office like he belonged there. The door stayed closed for nearly 20 minutes. Then it opened. Landon stepped out first, calm as ever, held a folder in one hand and a mug in the other. He turned to Shane and said something I could not hear. But I saw the effect. Shane's shoulders dropped. His hands clenched. His jaw tightened like he wanted to argue, but knew better. He walked out of the office without another word. Straight to his desk. Sat down. Stared at his screen. I could feel his eyes on me after a while. Just burning holes into the side of my head. But I did not look up. Not yet. I waited until I passed him in the hall, a fresh coffee in hand, just heading back from the break room. He stopped me. Said my name like it was something sharp in his mouth. What did you do? That was all he said. 4 words. Quiet. Tight. I met his eyes. Calm. Steady. And I said, built something that works. He did not reply. Just stared at me like I was someone he had never seen before. Maybe I was. Because in that moment, the roles were reversed. He was the ghost now, and I was the one in focus. By Wednesday, the rumors had started. Someone in HR let it slip that Landon was re-evaluating leadership roles in the product division. A few team leads started poking around my desk, asking innocent questions like, hey, what stack did you use on that demo? Or, how long have you been working on that version? But the big signal came Thursday morning. An all-staff invite hit my inbox, subject line, revised direction plus special announcement. Sent from Landon's assistant. Mandatory. I already knew. Shane must have sensed it too, because that afternoon, he did something I did not expect. He cornered me in the elevator. Just the two of us, 3rd floor to lobby. He stepped in, pressed the button, then turned to me like we were back in high school again, sneaking out of class with some dumb excuse. He tried to smile. Said we were still good, right? Said he knew things had gotten off track, but that we had been through worse. Tried to remind me of the time I bailed him out of a parking ticket in college. Like we were just friends having a bad week. I said nothing. Then he dropped it. I could still bring you in, he said. We could partner on this. Share the credit. I turned my head slowly. Let the silence stretch long enough to make him sweat. Then I said, you already tried that. Remember? He flinched. The elevator doors opened. I walked out. Left him standing there, stuck between floors, clinging to a future that no longer included him. And I meant it. Because it was too late for handshakes. Too late for splitting anything. He had already burned the bridge. And the meeting? That was coming fast. Landon had something planned. I could feel it. One more step, and this thing would be done. The conference room was packed tighter than usual. You could feel something in the air, like everyone knew we were about to witness a change, but no one wanted to be the first to say it out loud. I found a seat near the back. Not hiding, just observing. Landon stood up front, his usual calm presence, holding a clicker in one hand and a coffee mug in the other. No small talk. No warm-up. Just straight to business. He started by talking about the quarter. How it had exposed some misalignments in leadership. How accountability matters more than ambition. His tone was even, but every word felt like a hammer. Shane was seated up front, 2nd chair from the end. His back was straight, but I saw the tension in his shoulders. He kept tapping a pen against the table, fast and nervous, like he could will the moment away. Then Landon clicked the next slide. New head of product innovation, Marcus Hale. That was my name. Centered on the screen, clean white background. Just text. No fanfare. But the silence? That was louder than anything I had ever heard. One by one, people started turning. Some smiled. Others just blinked in surprise. But the one face I locked eyes with, Shane, was frozen. He twisted in his seat to look at me. His jaw dropped open just a little, like he wanted to say something but forgot how. I stared back. No words. No smirk. Just one long look. The same look he had given me months ago when he pitched my idea like it was his own. Except this time, the roles were reversed. Landon kept talking, mentioned a pilot program, said the revised tool had already impressed the board, and that I would be leading the initial rollout. I barely heard the rest. I was still watching Shane. He turned back around, but the tension was gone. His shoulders sagged. He looked hollow, not angry, not embarrassed, just defeated. And that was it. No confrontation, no scene, just a clean break. Shane had walked into that room thinking he still had time. But time had run out. He cleared out his desk the next morning. No announcement. No goodbye email. Just silence. A few people pretended to ask where he went, but no one really needed the answer. Shane was gone. I passed by his cubicle once, just out of habit. The desk looked strange without the usual clutter. No energy drinks, no scuffed-up headphones, not even that dumb lava lamp he kept plugged in since day one. Just an empty chair. I thought I would feel more vindicated, triumphant, maybe even smug. But I didn't. Instead, I felt still, like something that had been twisting in my chest for months had finally let go. People kept congratulating me that day. Slack messages, shoulder pats. Well-deserved, they said. Long time coming. I smiled, thanked them, kept it short. Because this was never about praise. It was about something deeper. Reclaiming what was mine. Not just the idea, but my name, my work, my place. That afternoon, I had my first one-on-one with Landon in the new role. We talked roadmap, timelines, structure. He ended by saying, "You played this smart." I nodded, but I did not tell him everything. Like how I had waited, watched. How I had studied Shane's every move not out of spite, but because I knew one day I would need to know what not to do. I thought about messaging Shane once. Just a simple line, "Now you understand." But I deleted it. There was nothing left to say. Sometimes the best ending is no ending at all. A few weeks later, I was walking out of the building when I saw him, sitting on a bench across the street, watching the doors like he was waiting for something. He saw me, stood up. I paused. Our eyes met. And in that quiet second, I gave him a nod. Not out of kindness. Not out of hate. Just recognition. He looked away. I kept walking. Because I had nothing left to prove. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free.